Alright guys, we're back. So first thing we're going to do today is talk about what is a grid bot and how can we set one up using the Pionex system. So let's get into it. Alright, so we're here on our Pionex account. First thing we want to do is click trade. So now as before we talked about, we can only use crypto and Tether here. So we're going to use Ethereum here. And how we do this, we then click trade. There's the manual option, which if we want to just go ahead, do your typical buys, sells, advanced, we can do limit buys, limit sells, all that stuff, market, everything. We're going to click trading bot. It's going to give us our 12 options. We're going to skip over these for now. We're going to stick with grid trading. Okay, so you'll notice when you do this, it's going to pull something up called the Use AI, that's Artificial Intelligence Strategy. For the purposes of crypto, I would recommend not using this. What this does is it's going to base your parameters for the grid off of the previous 7 days or the previous however many days it chooses. The problem with crypto is it's so volatile and it's changing so much. I mean, if we look over, the past few months here, I mean, let's see. February 2020, we were about $200 for an Ethereum. Today we're at about almost $1,900. So using the AI strategy is really going to mess with those parameters because it's going to backdate this too far to a place where we're not really sitting anymore. So what I like to do is set myself. Okay, so what you can do here is you can auto-fill in the AI parameters just to give you kind of what they're thinking. So let's go over this real quick. The parameters consist of the lower price. The lower price is the absolute minimum that you want this bot to run. I have not seen Ethereum dip below 1,600 in about a week or so, maybe a little more than a week. So let's start it at 1,650. And I think a good upper price would be just 2,000. Okay. So some things we really need to remember here. We are not, when you talk about a grid bot, we are not investing in Ethereum. We are not buying it to hang on to it, to invest in it, to hope it goes up. That's not why we're here. We are investing our money into the volatility of Ethereum. And essentially, we want to make money off of the swings in between our parameters. We're setting parameters and hoping that Ethereum bounces up and down between those parameters. So a lot of people will put a lot of money into this and they say, oh man, Ethereum, jumped up like crazy. I should have this much more money or blah, 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 blah. And they can get upset when it's like, well, I could have just bought some Ethereum and hung on to it. Yeah, you could have. That's not the point of a grid bot. A grid bot is strictly for the purpose of making money off of the swings within the parameters. And something to remember, with this is you have to think of this, compare this to an investment in like an IRA, a 401k, or just a typical CD or something like that. If you can put $100 in here and make $8 off of it in a month, that's much, much more than you would have made off of that $100 in any of those other things that I had just mentioned. So that's what we're doing here. Like I said, we're not betting on Ethereum. We're betting on its volatility. So then we're going to go into grids. And what a grid is we can pick between 2 and 150. And the grids are the amount of spaces between our lower limit and our upper limit where we want to do buys and sells. Okay? So let's see if I can quickly explain here. I made this sweet little chart. So essentially, with a grid bot, what we're doing is we are purchasing at this middle limit, okay? And let's say this middle limit is 1,700. each of these grids is going to be, if we chose 50 grids, it's going to be, 2,000 minus 1650 divided by 50. So that's going to be 350 divided by 50. So between $350, you're going to split that up between 50 sections. Each of those sections is going to be a grid. Okay? Every time we go from the original price, or wherever that grid is, and we hit the next grid, what's going to happen is it's going to sell a certain amount that we bought here at this point here, at this price. Okay? Then what happens, and the grids don't change, just kind of where we're sitting within the grids looks like it changes. So then this middle part is going to go here, and we are going to be sitting now in the middle of the next set of grids. Okay? Now this, like I said, the grids don't actually change. This is just for the benefit of explaining kind of where the price is sitting. So if we're originally here, and this is our initial buy, and we go up, okay, now we're sitting in between the next set of grids. All right. So what's going to happen here is when we have this certain amount of money, we go up, we're going to sell a little bit more than we bought and make some money. Now if we go back down, we're going to buy, we're not going to sell. If we go down again, we're going to buy, we're not going to sell. If we go down again, we're going to buy, we're not going to sell. If we go below the red limit, which is, 1650 in this case, the lower limit, then the bot simply just doesn't work. It doesn't do anything in here. It just sits and remains idle, okay, which is kind of nice. The moment we go back up here, we're not going to sell because we didn't buy anything lower, so we wouldn't make any money. But the moment we hit this new grid, then we're going to sell what we bought at this price, a little bit more. And then when we get to the next one, we're going to sell what we bought at this price. Now, if we make two jumps, meaning we jump two grids, without ever having gone back down to buy in between the second grid, then we're actually going to make a bigger profit because we're going to sell at this price what we bought at this price instead of this price. So those are going to be a lot bigger jumps, okay? And now over here, these gray grids, this is going to show us the difference between a lot of grids and less grids. The less grids we have, the larger the grids are. The harder it is, the more volatility you're hoping between your parameters, but the more profit you catch every time. If you have a lot of grids, you're going to have a lot of transactions, but it's going to be at a lower profit. If you have more grids, or if you have less grids, you're going to have bigger grids. You're going to make more profit, but you're really going to be depending on that volatility within the parameters. So you really need to know where you're going to be, and you're also going to need to be a little bit more patient. So let's see, let's go back here and explain. When we have the grids here, we're going to have a total investment, and then there's going to be a total investment required. The reason there's an investment required is because you have to be able to buy a certain amount, and you have to be able to reserve a certain amount for fees. Big thing here, it does not cost any money to run these bots, but it does cost a fee for every transaction. Now, that fee is, I think it's 0.05 or 0.5%, so it's always an amount. It's never a flat rate. So what I'm getting at is, if you have 100 transactions, as opposed to 10 transactions, and you make the same amount of money, you're not going to be charged a flat rate. So it's really not that big of a deal. At the end of the day, the amount of fee is going to be about the same because it's a percentage of the amount bought or sold. So here it tells you the profit per grid. It does the math for you. 0.22 to 0.29 is not a good percentage, okay? We want to be at the minimum, I would say about 0.6. So let's try about 30 grids. So that's going to put us at about 0.5% to 0.63. Now if we went less, we would be all the way up to 1.8. But remember, less grids means more fluctuation, which with Ethereum these days, definitely possible. But now something else we can consider is, let's say we want to stick with this and we don't think that price is going to go that low. Let's say maybe we're super hopeful and we don't think it's going to drop below 1800. Well, now that's the same amount of grids and less amount of space. So those grids actually got smaller, and so did the profit. But we're still remaining in a good profit. Like I said, I think this is a good range, maybe a little more. Total investment required. You don't have to break the bank on this one. So we set this and we run this, and luckily I already have one that has been running for some time now, 7 days, 21 hours, 14 minutes. What it shows you, and it's great, it really shows you, this tells you exactly what's been happening with the price of Ethereum, how it's going up, how it's going down, the percentages. There's a big difference here in these profits now. We have grid profit. Your grid profit is literally how much the grid has made based off the buying and selling. Okay. Then there's your unrealized profit. Your unrealized profit is based on the price of Ethereum at the time, because you are holding some Ethereum. Not a lot. You're holding enough to run the grid, but this does take into account. And then you have your total, which is going to be the addition of the grid and the unrealized put together. Sometimes, if this unrealized profit is a lot lower, let's say it tanks, that's going to cut into your amount here. The beauty though is, like I said, you're not holding on to a lot of Ethereum. So let's say this runs for a while and you make a good money off the grid profit and Ethereum just drops off. Okay? You're still going to be in the green. You haven't lost a lot because you're not holding a lot. Your money, like I said, was based off the fluctuation. Then it's going to tell you your annualized percentage. Right now, we're sitting at 202%. So basically off an $82.29 investment, I have made, and let's just go off the grid profit, because who knows what's going to happen to the price of Ethereum. But if I pulled it out right now, I would have already made 6% in a little over a week's time. There is not one single other investment, classic investment, 401k, IRA, anything that's going to even touch these percentages, which is why I always tell people, don't think about your investment in Ethereum. It's your investment in the grid and what you're doing. So then we can go over here, and this kind of shows you the grid as it's working. You have placed orders. These are, if it rises to these prices, you're going to sell. If it drops to these prices, you're going to buy. If it drops a lot without raising to any of the next grids, you're just going to keep buying. If it keeps going up without dropping, you're just going to keep selling, which it tells you here in the transactions. So, the beauty of this is it keeps track of every single thing that has happened. Shows you every dollar amount, every volume, every time, exactly how it works. When I started this, it was at 1777. So, as it went up, we sold a little bit that we bought, and I mean we're talking 0.03 cents worth. Each one of these transactions, 2 cents, 4 cents, 6 cents. There's going to be higher ones and there's going to be your average ones. Your average ones are those actual minute fluctuations. When you drop a grid and go up a grid, single at a time, boom, boom, up, down, up, down. I'm making about 1.5 pennies each time that happens. Now you might be thinking that's not a lot, but if I put $82 in a CD at 3% or whatever god awful percentage they are now, it would take me about 2 months to get 3 pennies from $82. So there's those, and then there's sometimes we get 6 cents. Now let me show you exactly what has just happened here as we speak, because Ethereum is kind of taking off. So these last few, it's been bouncing around up and down, up and down. You can see it drop down to 1843, I bought a little bit. Went up to 1855, sold a little bit. You know, dropped down to 1831, sold a little bit, bought a little bit, sold a little bit. But then it went to a place where I have not bought anything. I have not bought anything at the 1867 grid. So now everything that I have is based off the original chunk that I bought when I started the bot, which was 1777, which was purchased the day I started it, the 9th. Today's the 17th. So now it's selling amounts, or it's selling the same amount, but the price is way different. And so right there, I made 15 cents off of one transaction. And then it went up even further without dropping down to another grid. Because that happened, I sold a little bit more, a little bit higher of a price, almost 17 cents. So that is where you really kind of make that little bit of extra money, is when your bot starts hitting those higher grids all the way up until it tops off. Ours is at 2,000. Honestly, I don't know the type of money I'm going to be making off of these transactions when we get to that point, if we get to that point. But I can make another video and we can update at that time. But essentially the idea is, once we've gotten to 2,000, then I can stop my bot. And that's the other beautiful thing. We can immediately stop the bot at any time. What it's going to do, it's not going to sell off our holdings. It's just going to allow us to have them. It's going to give us all of our Tether, and it's going to give us all of our Ethereum. I can hang on to the Ethereum. I can sell it at that time. I can do whatever I want with it. It's my Ethereum. It's always been my Ethereum. Right now, it's just tied up in a bot. Then here, if we click parameters, it kind of shows us everything we went through. How we're investing and earning. Something that's real cool is, if we didn't do this with Ethereum, we can actually do this with another crypto and be paid in Ethereum. For those of you that want to really kind of stack up, you know, your Ethereum or your Bitcoin or whatever, you can pair them that way so that you're earning that instead of Tether. Shows us our profit per grid. I don't have a trigger price to sell because I don't believe in, you know, kind of freak out selling. Same thing with profit, didn't set that, nor a stop loss. So, and it also tells us kind of what's going on with Ethereum. It's fluctuating and then it's bullish, which is exactly what we want for a grid. If we click on the release profit here, it gives us, now it's going to take a little while for you to be able to release your profit, which means taking profit from the bot that doesn't affect the workings of the bot, meaning the fees and everything that it's holding. Let's see, it's got reserved fees in Ethereum, total Ethereum. And see here we're at 0.013. Not a lot of Ethereum we're hanging on to, okay? So that is a little bit about that bot. And like I said, we have to remember we are not investing in that specific crypto. We are investing in its ability to be volatile between the parameters that you set. And I think Ethereum 7 days ago was a great one because we're making all these transactions here. It also tells you, let's see, I'm not really seeing it. I can on my phone. That's the other thing. You can get an app on your phone for Pionex, and it tells you all of this stuff. You can follow all these things on your phone. You can stop these. You can start them. You can make them. You can break them. You can do anything you want. But that is how a grid bot works. And here you can see I have other bots going on, and we'll get into those a little bit later. But that is how we make, watch, and maintain a grid bot. So guys, if you like the video, please hit subscribe, share this around, and then leave some comments in there. Let me know what you guys would be interested in seeing and how I can maybe make these videos a little bit better. Until then, have a great day.